I have now hit record. You will be muted during this presentation portion, but afterwards I'll unmute you, and we want to participate in a discussion about what we're going to show you and share with you and get your input into that. And si quieres, puedes mandar preguntas en español por el chat. So thank you again for joining us, and Brandon is going to go ahead and present the material for us.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. And thank you for those who joined last session as well. Here with the design team, Vince from Dig Studio and Holly Street Studio Architects, as well as Aqua Design. So we will flip through this presentation. The format tonight will be a little bit different than last time. Last time was a lot of questions and a lot of listening. We've absorbed all of that information, both within those meetings and then also within what was I'll call it warming online survey response with just a ton of information beyond just kind of checking the boxes and ranking things. There were narratives, there were stories, there were, we really got to see how the community uses the park and hopefully, did a good job synthesizing all of that and developing options. And so this evening we'll talk kind of two levels. One at the park kind of master plan level, where we'll look at organizational layout of the park itself and how that aquatic center fits into the current amenities and where those current amenities may live in the future. And then from there, we'll go into the aquatic center layout, where we have multiple options and iterations that we'll be asking for your feedback. So we'll start with a brief presentation, and then we'll open it up with some question and answer. And then just similar to last time, there will be a link to an online survey where you can continue to expand on today's conversation and continue to provide feedback up until November 19th. Like I mentioned before, that feedback is tremendously valuable to us, and we really do take it to heart. So with that, I will get into it if I can click. So just on a summary of the park community outreach, let me to back up a window so I can see. Just a summary page of all the information regarding the park. What really stood out is just the simple act of walking and strolling and being in the park and enjoying the shade of the trees. It was kind of that resounding, what brings you to the park, along with the community garden. There's definitely been, a lot of investment, time, personal energy into that community garden. It shows. It's beautiful out there, and it showed throughout the comments that there is definitely a love for that. And then there's also this just general sense that there are a lot of amenities that the park has to offer, and that in itself is unique, from volleyball courts to basketball to playgrounds to dog parks. And it's one of those places where, no matter who you are, you can get engaged with it in some way. And it was seen as a real positive. On the flip side of that, there were a lot of discussion and a lot of remarks about the restroom. Part of this project and part of the CIP funding is going to that restroom, so that will be either renovated or new. There were also some safety concerns with the ramadas, with the playground. I think what we can do in terms of redesign of the park is thinking about sight lines, thinking about access, and I think that will help tremendously. So you can see on the side of the screen, there are some comments that were extracted. Again, that's just a small snippet of a really thorough dialogue that was part of that outreach process. And what this did is it helped us basically determine a baseline for the different park programs that would continue to live within the park. Oops. And then when it comes to the recreation center, I think the general consensus is just not used that much. And those that use it appreciate that it's there and appreciate the classes that are held there. But overall, just the experience feels closed. There is a desire to open it up, make it much more welcoming to the community. A lot of this was interesting when the conversation got on the rec center. There was a lot of conversation about future looking and potential of what a new rec center could do for the space and really create a community hub. And so we've taken that to heart and really want to build on that idea of facilitating all these different activities that can happen, from movie nights to gardening education, community events, fitness classes, lectures, and really create a space that that can host those events. And this helped define that goal of what this rec center component needs to be for the community. So with that, like I said, it helped us develop basically a program or the kind of the community outreach combined with the budget and the initial goals for the CIP funds helped develop this program for all park options that we'll roll through here in a second. But I'll just line these out. So new aquatic facility, obviously locating that. Locating the community garden within the park, that there's an intent that would remain a component of Clark. New combination pool house and rec center. There were some comments about, why does it need to be a separate building? As we discussed with the city and as we looked at budgets and we looked at the efficiencies of that we could gain when those two occupy the same footprint, we can, in a way, make a much more functional, much more seasonal type building for the community that can provide more with less money, which is always great. New playground experience that is centrally located and more visible. Renovated or new ramadas. Again, that's the restrooms, ramadas, and playground were specifically those items within that CIP fund that those dollars will be spent towards, and that was definitely something that came up in the community survey as well. So maintain the presence of basketball and volleyball. Like I said, there was a general desire and positive reaction to all the amenities in the park. The dog run and baseball field, pretty much remain as is. They're functioning well as they are. The horseshoe pits remain. However, relocation may be suggested depending on kind of park circulation. Connectivity improvements. Another line item within that the original funding for the park was ADA improvements. We are aware that there are many sidewalks that kind of lead to nowhere. And given that walking and strolling is that number one kind of activity that people want to do in the park, those connectivity improvements will go a long way for the enjoyment of the space. Landscape improvements, community and vent lawn space, and a renovated or new restroom, like I had mentioned previously. So I'll get into the design alternatives of how the park may lay out. And so what we're looking for tonight, we're gonna go through alternatives for park master plan, and then we're gonna go through alternatives for the actual aquatic center, and we'll get to the kind of Q&A at the end and within the online survey. What we're really looking for, what beyond kind of those baseline programmatic elements that we know are going to happen, like the ramadas, the restroom, locating the aquatic center, the playground. What are those other things that are really catch your eye and really important to you? Is it the location of the garden? Is it the creation of a community event space? Is it the relocation of courts? Any of that feedback will help us prioritize as we move forward. So with this first option, you can see that the garden actually remains as is. Within both options, looking at and working with the city of Tempe, and through our own assessment and analysis, we are recommending that both buildings basically be removed. There are operations issues with both of them. We feel that it's a more sustainable approach to remove those and remove the operation concerns and the long-term concerns with those facilities, and invest dollars into a more sustainable structure and a multifunctional structure going forward into the future. So with both of these schemes, you'll see the pool house and the recreation center removed from site. We are looking at the restroom over by the west side of the site as a potential remodel or a new building, depending on kind of how budget allocates and where, if we see benefit in moving it. Within this first option, the garden stays to the south. where the building existed becomes community plaza space. So if you think about markets, if you think about just a nice entryway into the recreation and community center building, that's where Elle would live within the plaza. The Aquatic Center makes its way to the north of that. And so you have this nice relationship between the pool and garden and the plaza. And this is why we call this one the community hub, because it does consolidate all that community use and really creates an anchor on that southeast part of the site. And the building in this scheme creates that kind of park edge that has a relationship to the garden, the pool, and then also what becomes a really nice North Meadow community event lawn space after that building's removed from there. It's just this big kind of flexible, what you think of when you think of a park, just a big flexible community space. One consistent that you'll see between both options is the playground shifts south towards the center of the park, and this is for a couple of different reasons. One, there are some existing mature trees within that area, and whenever we can take a program like play or just being, seating around play and integrate it into the existing assets of trees to take advantage of that shade, it's always a benefit. Secondly, it's adjacent to the Ramada location E, which is highlighted in E. So whether that Ramada gets renovated or if it's a new Ramada, there's a benefit to having that kind of heart in the center of the park. And then thirdly, it's on kind of access point from 18th and then also the south opening that will allow visibility of the space much better than currently. And then what you'll see from this option is the pool is actually located where the current volleyball court and basketball court are. So this would actually suggest relocating the volleyball court and the basketball court over to the west side of the park to create a kind of like a sports court area. We like this for several reasons. One, it creates a nice relationship with the dog park in terms of amenitizing the west side, so you get more activity, a little bit more people over there, a little bit more eyes on the park, and takes advantage of the restroom infrastructure that's located over there as well. So, when you're playing basketball, volleyball, dog park, all of a sudden you have a more user groups engaged with that restroom that can take advantage of that location and its convenience, as well as the connection to Ramada D. The second option is what we kind of call the Great Lawn, where the pool basically goes into its historic spot. This solves kind of that infrastructure, that's currently there, replaces it and replenishes it with infrastructure for the next, 40, 50 years, anchors that corner with a new building, again, combo rec and pool, kind of highlights that corner point and draws people into the park. There's this idea that's not limited to this, and it could be, carried forward. But this idea of expanding programmable space around the building, extending shade structures, creating occupiable spaces, and we love this relationship between the rec center building and what can become a nice formal community event lawn where you have things like, outdoor lectures, movie nights, that sort of thing. In this scenario, the courts would not necessarily have to move day one. However, we still, like that idea of finding that home over on the west side of the park where they can be more consolidated to the Ramada and restroom uses. Obviously, if the pool goes to the south, the garden would be located elsewhere in the park, and we feel an appropriate space for that would be in the northeast corner. A couple reasons: it creates another nice anchor to that portion of the park. It has really nice access from both parking and then also alley for all of the kind of in and out of the garden use, and creates, like I said, kind of an anchor that balances the pool. And then you have this kind of nice meadow space and park space that starts to connect through. Again, the play is located centrally, so it has a relationship to the recreation component and the kind of extended shade, and then it has a relationship to the Ramada. In both locations where you see these little purple bubbles, we're thinking of expanding play, outside of just kind of a typical one play area, and how we can perhaps stretch that through the park a little bit more, create more of a play experience, perhaps along kind of a central walkway, again, to kind of make a more unique kind of play experience. So we'll shift now from parks master planning into aquatic design, and then we can come back and we can discuss both in Q&A and get feedback and get your opinion. So on the aquatic outreach, same thing, wonderful amount of information. We, as the design team, owe you, everybody on this call right now, a great deal of gratitude. It was just, like I said, awesome to see that much information coming back to us. What stood out from the aquatics component, very much so, is that this aquatic facility really needs to reflect the diversity of the community. If you look at the age range to whom this should be, geared towards, there's no, cut and dry answer. It's really that mix and blend of everybody within the community. Families, seniors, young kids, and that's very telling when we look at for what use and for what elements. When you look at like recreational swimming and then combined with exercise, and then think about the elements that scored the highest of children play areas, zero depth beach entries, and then combining that with lap swimming, we get this combination pool of a recreation focus, but it has this fitness component to it, where you can still go there, work out, or you can take the entire family and spend the Saturday afternoon. And so, again, these answers started to define the goals of the aquatic facility and define what became our baseline program. And I apologize, there's a lot of words on the screen. I'll run through them here. But so based on all of that, based on the budget for the aquatic facility, we then developed this baseline program that no matter, we'll show 3 different options here momentarily. Each option represents the baseline program plus. So the baseline program is a combination rec and competition pool with focus on recreation, 4 lap lanes, 75-foot length for community fitness, swim lessons. We reached out to swim clubs. They felt that was appropriate for grade school swim clubs and those types of swim lessons. It combines in then within the same body of water a zero depth beach entry. Basically, from deck level, just kind of shallow drops into the water. What this does, combined with play components that are in the water, is creates a really dynamic place for small children to grade school children to play. Escalante has a similar feature with that. And then on top of that, general swim areas for aerobics, play, sport. A big component we felt was generous shade as well. That came up a lot. I mean, it comes up a lot no matter what project you work on in the valley. You can never seem to have enough shade. So we've ranked that high in terms of creating that environment that the community would want to be in based on the feedback, and then ample deck space in areas to picnic and kind of expand that use, so you can spill out from the pool spaces. There's also a desire to make this seasonal. So is there a way, even when perhaps in the middle of winter, where the deck space and additional picnic areas can still be used? So what we're looking for tonight is feedback on the some options that could further tailor the aquatic facility to the community. There were a couple other things that scored high. We have to take into account kind of the overall aquatics budget and figure out how these could potentially be integrated in to further reflect your wants. So the first is this idea of a family retreat. This adds an additional splash pad that's separate to the baseline program that I just went over. And what that does is it brings water on the deck and allows more engagement of that 0 to 4 year age. So the really young kids. The second one is this idea of health and wellness. There's obviously a presence of the garden. There's a presence of, there's a desire to just walk and stroll through the landscape. There's this general sense of health and wellness within the community that we got from the responses. and there's a desire by the city to bring a unique element, perhaps to Clark Park, that they don't have an offering already within their aquatic facilities. So that option will show a warm water or therapeutic pool that will allow, different exercising activities, stretching, therapeutic activities to the park. And then the final is this idea of a destination. Water slide was high on the list. It creates that icon. It builds excitement. It draws, the older kids to the pool. And so that's another option as well. So I'll run through these. These are conceptual in nature. Really, like I said, today we're showing a variety of colors. We're showing some different shapes. We're showing, different size picnic areas, different arrangements, and then obviously different programs. So neither is tied necessarily to one or the other. If you were drawn to a pool shape, but you like, program Y and Z instead of X, that's all great information. We'll take that and continue to refine to your desires. So with this one, this is the family retreat. You can see you can see my cursor. You can see the beach entry to the south with rentable kind of ramada areas, shade structures where you can lay out and picnic, general swimming, and then integration of lap lanes to the north. You can see how that could lay out in 3D with a nice, it kind of combines the space nicely in terms of how the shade would lay out. And here in that little location is that kind of extra splash feature, potentially with some different types of seating, where you can just, kind of sit with your toddler and let them interact with water while another, maybe older kid is playing in some different features. Just some different ideas on water component elements. So each beach entry that we shows, a different kind of scattering of water play. So you can have that, really interactive and fun experience within that beach entry as well. Just a few. And like I said, each one of these options includes some lap swimming, some general swimming, and some beach entry swimming. And there's just a kind of a quick shot of the splash pad area. And so on the health and wellness option, you can see it's a more orthogonal pool, very functional. It still has a lot of shade. It has a lot of great areas to just lay out and enjoy kind of the amenities. The turf area is on the outside, where you would kind of pull off and picnic or have some quiet time with, the family's amped up. You just need to kind of pull the side. I know how that is sometimes. But what it introduces is L, which is a separate body of water that can be heated to a different temperature and allow that therapeutic activity to happen. So we'll kind of run through a couple of these pictures here. You can see that down on the south side in the L-shaped pool arrangement. Again, a lot of these little spaces to lay out, and then plenty of shade, especially on the west side. With options. It's always great to have options to be in the sun or the shade whenever you're laying out, depending on what your intentions are. So this is just kind of a general size of what that warm water pool would look like. These typically come with, you'd have stretch bars integrated into it, potentially some steps, ramps on the bottom of the pool for various exercises and therapy, and then just a shot of the beach entry and fully clothed kids running into the water. Again, just kind of giving a feel of the space. So the final alternative, and again, these are just kind of showing those potential additions to that baseline program, is the one that features the water slide at the end. It is kind of that iconic element, that thing that can occupy those grade school kids for hours on end, and does act to kind of widen that activity range from children. So you can see a couple of shots how that may play out. Again, a lot of different picnic still within that kind of baseline. There's a lot of different picnic and layout areas, a variety of seating. Here's the beach entry that comes down that has some splash elements integrated into it. General swimming, lap swimming, and then pool to the north. Another shot across from where the pool house would be. All right, so that is the quick presentation, and now we can get to chatting. And I'll kind of open up the dialogue by going through what you'll see on the online survey. Again, if you know anybody that's not able to make tonight, one, Shauna is recording this, but two, please continue to provide feedback beyond just the hour that we have together. You're either welcome to raise hands and Shauna can call on you. You're welcome to chat in the chat bar, and we should be able to see it. But what I do want to go over is just kind of intent of the feedback and types of feedback that we're looking to gather. Again, on the park side, we know that there's going to be investments in certain things like the aquatic center and pool house, the restrooms, the ramadas, the playground, and ADA upgrades. What will influence that master plan going forward is understanding the importance of things like a dedicated space for the community garden, additional pathways, greater investment in play and fitness potentially, or that idea of relocating the sport courts to allow for a more formal community lawn. And then there's, general questions too about each, just, what do you like, what do you don't like? Whatever feedback we get there, we can incorporate, no matter what the direction forward. And then on the aquatic side, again, to reiterate, each option, that baseline option, in response to, what ranked highest within the community outreach, the lap swimming for recreational or for fitness use, recreational pool, general swimming areas, a zero depth beach entry for water play that engages, that kind of wide range of kids. Those are all integrated no matter kind of what aesthetic or option we go forward with. What we're interested in knowing is that between the options and ideas for further tailoring it, what speaks to you the most? Is it having a separate splash pad so you can activate some deck area? Is it this water slide that could engage more grade school kids? Is it this idea of a warm water or therapeutic pool? Is that is that interesting to you? Additional shade, additional lap lanes, lawns. We're just looking for that extra layer of feedback on top of that kind of baseline assumption. And like I said, if there's between colors or forms that were shown this evening, if there's anything that struck you or that you gravitated towards, no matter what the ultimate kind of program of the pool, we can take those comments and kind of navigate the design forward based on those. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions in the chat, or if anybody has their hand raised.
And if you haven't joined us via WebEx before, to raise your hand. If you're on a desktop or laptop, you just hover over your name and the raise hand button is on the right-hand side. If you're on your mobile, it shows up in your chat bubble. And so we can call you on there, or you can also type it. I said everyone can chat right here. So you should see that pop up if you also hit the bubble, and you can also put any questions there.
Yeah, and I will, just to facilitate, I will open up with asking a general question about what do you like about each of the Great Lawn and Community Hub? If we're just kind of focusing on the positives of both, we can flip that if we want to. And I'll also put out there, is there anything that we've distilled from the community outreach that was surprising, or do you think that it reflects, the accurate? Is it accurately reflecting the community? Like I said, there was a lot of information within there. We did appreciate it. Any chats?
I'm not seeing anything through. This is your opportunity if you guys do have any questions at all. Brandon, city staff, anyone's here to kind of answer those for you. Oh, wait, I've got a hand raised. All right, Julianne, I'm going to unmute you. You're all set.
Good evening. I'm very active in the community garden. For that reason, prefer the community hub design. I'd like to see the garden remain where it is. But I also wanted to ask if there's been any thought to new structures in the garden. In particular, we run a CSA 3 Saturdays out of 3 months. We have 120 subscribers, and the subscription is open to SNAP beneficiaries. And especially since the garden park is a USDA food desert, I would like to see the CSA continue. But we do, for instance, we need some kind of refrigerator, as we have in the pool hall now, to continue that program. So I was just wondering if you thought to structures in the garden space.
Yeah, we have, and I think that what you see in the hub is a response to that, where the structure could both serve the pool and serve the garden, as well as serving the overall park. And it would be good to understand what those specific needs are. So within those rooms of the new kind of combination facility, we can plan for a certain amount of, like I said, refrigeration space and those types of elements. But that is kind of the intent of this one, is that building, serves the entire park and also allows, that garden use, whether it's, we saw a lot of responses back on garden education and having, classrooms and those types of things available to do that. I think that's where it becomes this hub that it's doing a lot within that footprint.
No, I really appreciate you creating the garden space in both designs. I was just curious if there would also be room in the budget for structures.
In terms of the budget, it's really allocated right now within that kind of recreation and pool house structure. And then the restroom on the west side, which desperately needs some improvements, as well as any upgrades to the ramadas. Beyond that, there are no other monies kind of allocated for additional structures.
Okay, so any needs that the garden community would have to be integrated into the recreational building?
Yeah, in terms of classroom space, kitchen space, and how that may, serve as a function for the garden. Yeah, it would be integrated within that kind of combination building.
Okay, and anything like a tool shed, for instance, would that be?
Well, for example, within this option, we would not anticipate removal of the current shed that's out there. There is that kind of outbuilding
right.
within that garden space that's kind of attached to that ramada. In
Right,
that scenario, we would anticipate that infrastructure staying as is. The part of infrastructure that would be removed would be the pool house itself
Right.
in place of the new building.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I got a chat from Patrick. Great job. Looks very well thought out. I think for our family, the water slide really brought a lot of excitement. Shade is important. Rentable ramadas are a great idea. In terms of the community center, I would love to see a gym in that space if it was possible, feasible. So we are looking at kind of square footage layouts right now and in program of that. You also continue on to say, I think the restroom placement is key as circulation around the sitting areas. As is circulation around the sitting areas as they're inhabited by homeless, and I see a lot of drug use. So homelessness and safety were brought up a lot in the community outreach, the online survey. And so that's why we've chosen to engage more so with program to the center of the park. Especially within that play component, getting it off the alley and getting it to the south, and then also opening up sightlines. Sightlines are an issue, throughout the park in its current state. From the west, the existing restroom actually kind of blocks that, a lot of the view down into those Ramada spaces, and then the recreation center. To its part, blocks views internal to the park. So just by removing that building, we actually open up visibility to the entire central and north half of that park, which will help with that. But in terms of homelessness and those types of uses, the best way to kind of design to that is just introducing more programs so more people are occupying the spaces, and it's more desirable to be in that location. And then in terms of the restroom sighting, we are studying, budgetary impacts of what may happen if it's moved versus what may happen if it stays. We think there's ways that it could remain in its location since the infrastructure is there, but can be enhanced. And also looking at potentially if it shifts south slightly to serve the field. And all that is, like I said, I kind of mentioned, all of this is all going on within the general world of budgets too, and trying to figure out, and this is why these conversations and the feedback that we get in these are so important, because it helps us prioritize. Obviously, I don't know if I should ever say this, we never can do everything for everybody, but if we can figure out what those priorities are and focus there, it does the most possible for the funds available, and that's always the goal of these.
Okay, Brandon, I have another one. Philip, I'm going to unmute you if you want to go ahead.
Hi there. Yeah, first of all, I missed the first meeting, sorry. And I would like to thank everybody for looking into this. So aquatic alternatives for Riverside, or for Clark Park, rather. And a lot of these look really good. I like a lot of the designs, and I think probably one of them is called the community hub. Is that correct?
It's what? This is the community. Yeah, this one's the community hub. Yeah.
Okay. I do like the community hub design, probably more than any of the other ones. Perhaps we could look into some of the other places around the valley that have aquatic areas for children. And one of the places that has really good for children is the river.
Phil, I don't know if it's me, but you're a little scrambled. Sean, are you getting the same?
Yeah, Phil, you're coming through choppy. Brandon, maybe try muting yours.
Yeah, let me try to mute here. I'm going to go on mute, Philip, and then.
Is that better? Can you hear me? Okay, very good. All right. Yes. First, I was just going to thank everybody for looking into a pool at Clark Park. We've needed that for years and years. I was just saying that the one that is called the Community Hub, of the 3 different designs, was it 3 different or was it 4?
It was 2 different master plans in terms of park layout, and then the 3 aquatic options can stitch into any master plan kind of overall park direction.
Gotcha. Okay. One of them has a slide like that. That's really cool. Are you familiar with Riverview Park at all in Mesa? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Very good. I really do like their place for children to play. That's a really nice aquatic area for them. I do like the slide that we have in here. I would like to see more space for children to play with a regard to an aquatic area. But the overall look to that particular one looks really nice. As far as like the lawn goes and all of the landscaping goes, is there going to be some of the landscaping in the plan itself, like what kinds of plants and trees are going to be where? And one of the biggest problems that we have here in the city of Tempe is that we get allocated money to do plants and trees here and there, and which is all great, but if they don't have good irrigation, they'll all die. And we've seen that happen over and over in our city. But hopefully this will have a better irrigation area or system rather for its landscaping.
Yeah, I can speak on that really briefly. And there was a comment that came up about the existing trees on the park during the noon session. Yeah, we will be in, part of the CIP funds are for improvements for landscape, and it will be a part not only of the aquatic center, but of the park master plan as well, to continue to kind of add and build on the existing vegetation in the park. One thing that's, unique to Clark that we see in a lot of these older parks from the 60s is that it's based on flood irrigation. So we're familiar with that system and understand how we need to maintain kind of those flows in order to keep trees alive and healthy. And so part of this will be understanding the proper species to go in that can benefit from flood. And then part of it will also be looking at opportunities where we are coming in and making an impact in terms of, for example, this aquatic facility, turning to potentially a complementary but more, desert appropriate, low water use aesthetic that can, work with the building and work with the improvements to collect and filter that water and use it for vegetation, so it gets that extra boost in addition to irrigation systems. So there's a lot to play on the landscape in terms of what's existing out there, how we continue to grow that shade and kind of that quote unquote forest that exists, and then also how we come in with these new improvements and rethink a little bit about what that landscape might look like.
Great. Okay. And when might you have examples of what your plans are with regard to irrigation and plants and trees and whatnot?
Well, this first kind of exercise is more in terms of big picture on, what the framework of the park's going to look like, the overall master plan, and then some more aquatic focused ideas. That goes into, next year. And then as we build on that and work through the documents, then we'll be getting into, plant selections and pallets and irrigation layouts and all that kind of stuff.
Well, terrific. Looks good to me. We've needed a pool for years and years, and I'm glad to see that we're actually looking into having a pool at Clark Park. We used to have one at Clark Park, and we decided to fill it in so we could have more of a park, which was kind of a shame for Tempeans. But in any case, I'm really glad to see that we are exploring different options with regard to having a pool at Clark Park now. That looks great.
All right. Well, thank you for your feedback. I appreciate it. And like I said, if you know anybody else that would not be able to attend this evening, this presentation and the online survey will be posted. And let me flip to that page really quick since I'm talking about it. At tempe.gov/forum. So yeah, any neighbors, anybody else that you feel would be interested in the project, we're welcome to all comments and all feedback. Julianne, you still have your hand raised. I think that might be a remnant from when you raised your hand previously, but just making sure that you don't have another comment. Oh, you just put your hand down. All right, perfect. Anybody else? This is time to comment and let us know your thoughts. If we should be thinking about anything else. If you prefer one thing over the other, especially within that aquatics component, thinking about, that warm water feature, the water slide, the splash pad, what resonates with you? What do you think would resonate the most with the families in the neighborhood? Let's see here. Just a second. We're gonna chat.
Yeah, Teresa, it hasn't come through, so let me know if you want. I can also unmute you, or if you want to.
I got it. It's right
Okay.
here. I don't think my comments are okay. The restroom needs to be moved to the center of the site near the play areas, ramadas, and gardens. So it's more easily utilized by families with young children playing and away from its current location, where it has issues with drug use and sales. So that's something we'll be looking at it in terms of how we relay that program out and seeing where the infrastructure would allow us to put it. One thing with consolidating that pool house and rec center on both options is that rec use will have a restroom use with it as well. So that kind of combo pool rec building will also be a place where you'd be able to go use the restrooms when you're out at the playground in those facilities. But we'll continue to look at where the restroom locations are best served. I do know that on that edge, it does serve a function for the field and the baseball fields as it currently is. So we'll kind of balance all those amenities, especially if the different courts start to move over there. We'll continue to look at that, but just know that rec center will have a restroom component that will be accessible as well. It must be enclosed for sanitation reasons. The birds have free access and leave filth all over. No mother is going to want to use that with her young children. So that is very, very similar to a lot of the feedback that we got on the online survey when it came to the restroom. And that's why it's been a priority within the city of Tempe's funding, is that restroom needs to get fixed. And so beyond cosmetic upgrades and functional upgrades in terms of fixtures and access, we will look at the location too to make sure that it's in the most appropriate location for the park. If the rec room is closed, the pool is closed, there's no access for people in the park. That's with the existing rec center. So we'll be looking at hours of operation too for the rec center and pool house, and figure out how we can best make use of the new restrooms that are located within that building as well too.
And then also just to clarify, Brandon, it still includes the restroom on that west end getting redone.
Yeah. So you'd have both restrooms. You'd have a situation where you'd be able to go to the redone restrooms on the west end, or you'd be able to use the restrooms that would be within the new recreation center. The pool dressing rooms must be enclosed to the birds. Yeah, same issue. And yes, those will be rethought as well. There's been comments too about just adding convenience outdoor showers, easily accessible on the pool deck, to help that as well, so you don't necessarily have to go in if you're just running in and running out. It's there for your use. So we're thinking about all those functions right now in terms of how that pool house functions and how the rec center functions. But yeah, comments are very similar to the stories that were on the survey. So thank you, and we'll continue to look into those.
And then Brandon, Phil just had another comment in the Q&A, just asking to look into the splash pad options for children as well.
Okay, sounds good. And yeah, that, like I said, the direction of that, I think will come out of this outreach survey combined with how the funds layer in for that aquatic facility. We do like that splash pad option for having that kind of increasing that age use, especially going younger. There may be ways that we can treat the beach entry with certain, aquatic toys within the beach entry that are focused for smaller children as well, as a way to capture that age range. Let's see here. No less than 6 lanes for the pool is reasonable, as 4-lane reduces its use for teams to rent. So this was a discussion that we've had with various clubs in the city. We're still looking at what that kind of final lane usage is. 4 we felt was reasonable for that kind of community fitness, being able to go swim laps, as well as more of the younger kids swim clubs. But we'll continue to look at that that size. Obviously, we're trying to balance kind of overall water square footage for many reasons, including costs and budget. Let's see. Thanks so much for including the garden and boat designs. Well, that was because we got so much feedback about the garden on the community outreach. And the community hub design would be better for all the garden's activities and services. That noted. Yeah, I think we were trying to accommodate the garden in both schemes. There is the logistics of the infrastructure that exists underground, and so we will need to weigh going forward, the cost benefit of that element remaining in place or relocating to the corner, just knowing that there's certain, remnants of the old pool facility there. There are certain infrastructure that exists there, and what that may mean for the overall budget if we decide to move the aquatic center to a different location. So again, it goes, I don't mean to say budget so much within community meetings, but it really goes to our job in terms of analyzing that overall budget and trying to figure out how we can, best serve the full community. Frank says the CSA program requires proximity to the garden. It is our intent to supplement what subscribers receive in their bags with herbs and seasonal produce from the garden. Not having a building in the garden to help run this program would prevent this from happening. Is it possible to incorporate the old rec center into the garden to help in that regard? Let's see here. So Frank, we have looked at that as a potential idea. There are some serious concerns in terms of the long-term viability of that building. It's rated in very poor condition from various assessments from the city, and it becomes this kind of ongoing maintenance. And so where we're at right now is that in terms of the long-term kind of vision of Clark Park, it does make sense to eliminate kind of that operations and maintenance and unsustainable infrastructure and replace it with something that's geared more towards the future and can be flexible to serve multiple uses. I think if you're able to expand on that CSA operation in terms of how it performs and whether it's within chat or the online survey and just understanding the sequencing of that, we can figure out how the future rec center may be able to help facilitate that activity. Will there be, Frank also asked, will there be stadium style lighting? If so, neighbors have complained that lights aim directly into their homes. Yeah, so No, there will be lighting within the aquatic center, but I don't believe anything that would cause any impact with neighbors. We actually looked at some options where the sports courts relocated more to the north side of the park, but actually retracted that from that same concern that we'd be potentially introducing lighting to neighbors. Obviously, the ball field exists there already. That has cutoff lighting. But I don't think we would impact anything more so than the existing.
And Brandon, I think what he's talking about is the old pool site, the current community garden has the like larger stadium lighting, but everything would be up to today's standards, which I don't think would be spill as much and would probably be LED or whatever else.
Yes, yeah, everything that would be new back into the park, just like what has gone to the dog run area, would all be LED. Teresa adds, lived in Tempe 62 years and swam on 4 different teams from Tempe Beach to ASU teams. You also want to have enough space for use as teaching space for advanced swimmers. All right. And is that, when you say that, and Dave's on the line from our aquatic design as well, is that that you're assuming pool space for advanced swimmers? You're welcome to expand on that if you'd like to speak.
Brandon, you asking Dave, or you want me to unmute?
Oh, no, unmute.
Terza. Okay.
Terza.
I don't think you can hear me. I'm not sure. I have a microphone.
Sorry, there you go. Now I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. When I'm talking about advanced swimmers, you generally, when you have a swimming program, you have a number of beginning groups, like starfishes and porpoises and but you also have to have a space where the larger kids that are advancing can swim laps. The little kids can just swim in a very small space because their length is not extended. But I don't think that you have enough teaching space in the pool if you're going to teach anybody over than 6, 7 to swim. That's a concern. Another concern that I have is I think the plan is much too grandiose. And the reason I say that is you're trying to be everything to everybody. And what I don't see, you talk about more people coming, more people coming, more people coming, more people coming. Well, how many people are going to be able to gather their small children and their toys and their blankets and their beach towels and their snacks without utilizing their vehicle? And there is no parking that has been added. We already know that when the baseball fields are being used, parking is inadequate. So my recommendation is something has to go and move things around. My recommendation is the dog park. There's a dog park at Mitchell School. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, thank you for your comments. I'll add just a quick note to that. I think we're getting close to time. We've looked at the aquatics program holistically within the overall kind of Tempe aquatics program, looking at what McClintock offers, looking at what Escalante offers, and trying to focus this, again, based on that outreach, as more of a recreational a pool facility. And that's why you see, and so to your point about not trying to be everything to everyone, what this became through, the direction that this took through that community outreach process is that it's not a competition pool. It's something that is more family focused, and the slack lanes are really there for exactly what you said. Getting kids introduced to water, that young swim clubs and being able to just get some laps in for general fitness. We are taking a look at occupancy loads on the pool deck and the combo recreation and pool facility right now, and we'll determine whether or not any additional parking would be necessary.
Okay, I grew up in that neighborhood from 1958. That's home to me.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate the comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brandon,
Yes.
I know we're going to wrap up pretty quickly. Hi, everyone. My name is Diane Jacobs. I'm one of the architects who will be working with Brandon on the structures. I think it's a point well taken about, not trying to be everything to everyone. So the purpose of a lot of these discussions is to help us prioritize. So we budget, permitting, and other constraints removed, we could do everything you see on the drawings, but to a certain extent, we put some of these things forward so that, you can help us kind of rank things, and the surveys are able to do that work for us as well. But these discussions are super, super helpful. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that I hear the last comment loud and clear, and I do think that our team is trying very hard to figure out, what the most important elements are and sort of design around that.
Okay, so thank you everyone again. We're at the end of our time. Brandon had shared the website. The comment form online will be open through November 19th. We also have noted your comments tonight, but you're also welcome to go online. There's some other questions, and you can give us your input there as well. And then this will also be posted on the project website. We'll keep you updated and kind of next steps, Brandon, if you want to talk a little bit about when we might be back at the beginning of 2021. You're muted, Brandon. Sorry.
Sorry, I muted because I was getting a little feedback there. So next steps, yeah, the survey will be open until the 19th. So again, like Diane said, the more information we get helps us prioritize everything from within the framework of the park to the aquatic center. What we'll do is distill that down and summarize that in a digestible way that then these options, that community feedback will be presented at various councils. We'll move into January, kind of working on a preferred direction that comes from all this community feedback, and then come back to you all probably end of January with updated, updated conceptual direction for further comment and feedback. Like I said, we appreciate all of the various comments. Please keep them coming. They help us do our job better because it's really about figuring out what's important to the community and how to mesh that with budget to deliver the best product possible.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you again for spending the evening. Appreciate it.